Welcome to another edition of Sanford Says. My name is Lisa Holder, Chief Communications and Cultural Affairs Administrator for the City of Sanford. And today we have two great guests. We have a wonderful topic, the Downtown Sanford Marina Master Plan. Rosemary Aldridge is the prime consultant. She is our Senior Vice President with Neil Schaefer. Welcome, Rosemary.
Thank you.
And Eric Schultz is with us. He is the project engineer of Edgewater Resources, the sub-consultant on this project. Welcome, both of you. We're so excited about this great project. I mean, the Sanford Marina, you can't miss it. It's our ideal location right on Lake Monroe. Right, Rosemary?
There's never a bad day at the marina. It's so beautiful.
So can you tell us really what the situation is and just a little history about the Sanford Marina, and then the master plan, and what's really, what can we expect as new marina features?
Sure. So the marina was mainly constructed in the 1970s, and at that time the city got into a lease with a marina company that was actually running the marina since that time. But the lease was set up where after 55 years the city had an option to renew it, and that came time in 2022, just a few months ago. And so the city wanted to know before this came about in the end of 2021. They asked our firm to work with Edgewater Resources and put together a condition assessment of the marina just to see what the issues were, so they could decide if they wanted to stay in the lease or move in a different direction. And after the condition assessment, they decided they really just the city wants to take more control. And this is, like you said, it's a jewel in the city's area, in the city limits, and we need to make the most of it. So they saw this as a great opportunity to take control of it, and so they put out an RFP for a marina operator,
which is a request for proposal.
Request for proposal. Yes. That's right, to find a new marina operator. And they set this up under a different situation where instead of the company that was managing the marina having complete control, the city now has control. But that also means that the city has to put in all the money to improve or repair. But they hired Founders 3, F3 Marina, which is a great company. They've been out there for a few months now, I think since about April. They really came on board. And so they're helping. It's great that they were involved from the beginning of this master planning effort, because now that the city's in charge, they want to know, how can we make the most of the marina?
Yeah. No, so was that all coordinated to happen at the same time, or just was like by a miracle?
Of course it was coordinated to happen at the same time, Lisa.
Okay.
What do you think, we're amateurs?
I just want to make
No, the city did a great thing by doing that.
Okay.
Because literally we kicked this project off in the end of March, and by mid-April we had the public meeting to, from the front end, get all the input from the public. What does the public want? Because it's for everyone.
Right.
And the big point was, it's not just for the boaters, it's for anybody that wants to go out and enjoy a sunset or a sunrise. So that's why we got the public involved. But F3 was there from that beginning point, so it was great because they weren't going to come in at the end and go, wait a minute,
right,
why didn't you do it like this?
Yeah, so it's great that everybody's on the same page.
Exactly.
And I know that they even have, while you're listening to this, you might want to go to their website. It's the what's the name of their website?
DowntownSanfordMarina.com.
Yeah, check out their website, because they've created, we've got a brand for them, and it's really great. It's on our city website as well, and it's all kind of the same as the City of Sanford's logo, so it's very familiar. It's got the same theme, and we are same marketing. And they did a great job on the website. And so while you're listening, you could go to their webpage and check it out, because, again, it's all part of the same big picture of this marina master plan.
Yeah, and the great thing about doing planning is hopefully things happen by design. And changing the name to the Downtown Sanford Marina was discussed like in the very first meeting. And everybody got on board that, we wanted to brand that it's in downtown. So when people are looking up marinas to go visit when they're boating on St. Johns River, they go, oh, that one's in a downtown. There must be things to do there.
Yeah.
And what was great is that F3 and the city have, as these things came up, they immediately made that change. They didn't wait a year,
Yeah.
Immediately, that's already happened. So now the marina's been branded, the website, and there's new signage out there.
Yeah, and that's really important. And so, what are some of the potentially new marina features? Now, did this come up with the input from the public? Did you get these ideas from
Sure.
that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Yes. So just to go back for a minute, the beginning of the project, we had 10 stakeholder meetings. We met with about 20 different stakeholders. So these were companies that were already, on Marina Isle. And let me say too, we weren't just looking at the marina, we looked at Marina Isle. And when we say Marina Isle, we mean the part that's under the city's control, because some of it is already leased out.
Right.
So we were only looking at what's not already leased out for other uses. But in those stakeholder meetings, we invited the businesses that are out there, the city organizations like Main Street, the Chamber. We even brought in a company that has seaplanes in Tavares who was interested in, bringing seaplanes. So
Yeah.
we looked at new things. We looked at what are the current people want.
Yeah.
And then brought in all the boat owners, the powerboat owners, the sailboat owners, and then had a big public meeting, the charrette style meeting where people come in and can give comments. And so, Lisa, back to your question, that's where we had options like, what would you like, this versus that? Would you like more pavilion picnic tables, or would you like a bigger bigger boat storage? What do they like? And that's where we got a lot of input.
Yeah, and so that seems really great, because really when you're working in the local government arena, it's where the rubber meets the road. It's closest to the people, and these public meetings are so important because they do take your comments and concerns into consideration, because it's your Sanford Marina, Downtown Sanford Marina, right?
Right.
So.
And yeah, let me mention how that is also reflected in the way our team is set up. So Neil Schaefer is a local firm, and some of our staff have lived in Sanford 25 years. I've lived here 10 years. We kind of understand the local culture and what people want, from
Right.
being around. Edgewater is an expert in marinas, all over the world. So, they're kind of focused on how can we best serve the boaters and, what makes it a better operating marina. Neil Schaefer's more focused on what we call the upland side, which is the land,
The what side? The
upland.
Upland.
Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right.
what's out of the water?
I see.
So, can we bring in more restaurants? Can we have more shoreline devoted to the public and not just boaters? And so that's where we've been balancing, that with what people from the public and the boat, operator owner side wants to see.
This is just amazing, because I want to focus on the logo, but I have to tell you, if you look at the City of Sanford's logo, there's a slight wave there, because that is what we're all, not what we're all about, but when you come to Sanford, unlike any other city, we are on beautiful Lake Monroe. There's just something just magical about it. And so it's incorporated into our branding and just our being here in the city, it's the marina. And how many cities can say, well, we have a marina like this that's on the St. Johns River, plus all the other amenities we have here in the city, airport, train. So I'm going to let you talk.
No, you're right. It's extremely unique, and that had a lot to do with the timing of doing this. Really couldn't have been more perfect, because of all of the development that's come to the area and is continuing to come to the area. It's time to do the marina. When you start looking at the Riverwalk and looking at the new developments, you're like, wow, we need to jazz up the marina.
Yeah.
So that the city's prepared to do that. We presented to the commission the initial findings from the public involvement, and then how we incorporated that into some new marina features. Would you like me to tell you more?
Yes.
About
I
those,
would like
Lisa?
you to tell you more, and I'm going to just double check on our friend Eric here to see if he's available. But please, let's hear it. We've got to hear about these new potential marina features.
Excellent. So, in keeping with the new branding, the Downtown Sanford Marina, we will see much more advertising and what we call wayfinding. How do we get there? Showing that it is there, not only from the streets but from the water, and getting it out on marine navigation websites and things like that.
That's so cool.
So looking at it from both ways. But interestingly, when we did the public comment, we put out a survey on SurveyMonkey, which you helped us to distribute.
Yeah,
And-
we have Eric back. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So the SurveyMonkey was a great survey tool to get people involved. Again, it's just key to a successful project, I would think.
Well, we had over 200, I think 217 people from the public took that survey. And then we also had a separate boater survey that was very detailed in terms of, what a boater is looking for, and the size of a slip and what amenities. So it was, much more tailored to the boaters. About 20 boaters took that survey. But the biggest, number one, I guess, area of interest for improvements was public restrooms.
Okay. Well, we're all human. Yes. Okay. So
public restrooms. Yep.
Yeah.
And that was both on the marina side and on the public side. So meanwhile, like I said, the city's just been so proactive on all of this. The city's already building those new public restrooms.
Yeah. See, that's wonderful.
And it's not something that has to wait for this whole master plan to be completed. It's something that needed to get done. And it's being done. And if you go out there to the marina today, you will see flags and you will see construction going on.
That's wonderful.
So
now,
that was the number one thing.
Yeah, and so I just want to, for those who may not understand, let's get down to like the nitty gritty. A master plan. What? Can you just explain what a master plan piece of document is, and for people who may not know?
Sure. So. A master plan, and I'll let Eric talk about this with marinas too, because he does a ton of them. But just in general, what we were working with what is there, and what's the highest and best use of the land that you have, so that so that as you're building out these vacant spaces or renovating what's there, you have a guidance system, that this is something that the city will adopt. And so as new developments want to come on Marina Isle, we need to look at, is that in keeping with how we plan to use this land?
I see.
Right.
Okay.
And it takes in a lot of public comment. It's not like a design document, but it can show like architectural standards. What do you want it to look like? The signage, what do you want the signs to look like? The logos,
right? The
buildings. Those are kind of things you can set in a master plan.
And how long is a master, typically how long do they last before they need to be actually acted upon? In other words, or is that just really up to the elected? Money. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
We can talk about that, but Eric, do you want to add something about marina master planning?
Sure. So, master plan can kind of be many different things, but specifically when we're looking at the marina, the master plan is sort of the long-term vision of how we see this site. So, for example, we were out there, and different docks have different current conditions. Some are in worse shape than others. And so if you're going to be replacing the whole system, not all of it needs to be replaced at the same time. But that you come up with a master plan, so the long-term vision, here's what a new marina would look like. So it was important to Schaefer and Edgewater, when we were coming up with this, is we wanted something that is going to fit the current needs of that marina basin with, these are things like slip sizes, slip layout, what boats are there right now, what boats do we want to have there in the future, and take all that into account and come up with a future plan that both can meet the needs that they have right now, and then also not prevent us from wishing we had done something different in the future. So something that specifically like the dry stack, for example. So that we consider that part of the marina because you store boats there. And, right now that dry stack has a tough time getting larger boats. The trends we see in the boating market are, boats are slowly getting bigger and bigger. So as that dry stack building is right now, I don't think it's just not going to be able to accommodate the future boats. And we've got to look 20, 30, 40, 50 years in advance. So how can we come up with a new building that is going to satisfy what those boaters need now, but also not hinder us, when we look at this project in 50 years? So those are kind of the things that, from the marina perspective, we were looking at with the master plan.
Yeah, now can I ask the question about the depth of the water in the marina? Does that have anything to do with the size of boats that can dock there?
Yeah, that it really it does affect it, especially when we're talking about sailboats and things like that, because sailboats have keels, they have different demands. The term we'll use is like draft, how deep that boat is in the water. So if we have a shallow basin, we're going to be limiting ourselves to some pretty small boats, and so that is something. Even though you might not physically see it, that is actually something we took consideration with when we came up with the master plan. Where do we want the sailboats? Where do we want to put the power boats that might not need as much water depth? Those are all things that we were thinking of.
Interesting. And so what is the water depth? Do you know of our marina, Eric?
Yeah, so if I'm remembering off the top of my head, I think it was 7. It was like 5 to 7 feet in areas. That was in the West Basin. We actually went out there and did a bathymetric survey. So we went out there in a boat and shot depths on everything. And, with tide, there's some water level, not necessarily tide, but the water level does fluctuate a little bit when you get rains and things like that. But when we were out there, we saw like 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 9 in some areas. But
Yeah.
there were a couple high spots, but those were mainly the depths that we were seeing.
Yeah. And is that typical for like a river marina like we are? I don't know. I'm just curious because just, since you're here, you might as well.
Yeah, so typically we would like to see depths when the water's at its lowest to be pretty much 6 feet everywhere. That can accommodate a wide range of boats and things like that. As we're looking though to the future of the project, I think we do have some dredging in there, because if you have 6 feet, that might be good, but as you know, water is moving. Who knows what the water elevation is going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and sand is also moving in that basin all the time. So
Right.
you ideally want to dredge it or have that the shallowest be around like 7 or 8, and then over time when sand kind of fills in that marina, then you're at around like 6 or something, which we would consider sort of, that's the target.
Ideal. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So, Rosemary, what are we looking at in terms of your project goals? What do you think?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest goals was to look at, like I said, the land that's there and the land that's available, the shoreline, and figure out what's the highest and best use of that land, and to balance, having something there for people that don't own boats, and making sure it's a highly functional marina and it's desirable and will attract people to come, just for an overnight visit or a day visit. And then making sure, we got public input. And I would say another thing as part of the master plan was looking at, after doing the plan, and as we're doing it, we've done cost estimates to see what this will cost so that the city can program and figure out how to fund it. But also we're looking at grants. And, there are some opportunities for grants that might help to fund it.
Okay. All right. And some of your key findings? Want to discuss that?
Yeah, so as far as, we talked about the surveys, besides the public restrooms, which are definitely not the most exciting part
Right.
of what's coming.
But much necessary.
Yeah, interestingly, the public was most interested in more restaurants, picnic areas, having better access from the Riverwalk, maybe making it feel like the Riverwalk continues actually out onto Marina Isle. And so making that connection was important.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I could see, excuse me, but I could see how the city has invested in the Riverwalk, and now you're investing in the streetscapes in downtown, and now you're investing in the marina, and we're a walkable city. And so to connect all of those dots, to me, would be, of course, is like ideal.
yes, yes. And so not only connecting where you walk out there, but maybe you can actually dip your toe in the water. Maybe
Right.
not swim, but
Right.
access to the water.
Well, and the city's had those public day slips for quite some time now, and we've really promoted to the fact where you can just
Oh yeah.
drive your boat up. I think there's 6 of them out there, and they're right at Veterans Memorial Park. And get out, walk into downtown, take your dog in your boat, walk into downtown, enjoy downtown. and stay for as long as you like, and get back in your walk to the marina, get in the free day slips, and go on your way. And to me, that's such a great day. You know,
Yes.
you don't have to be a city on the ocean, or but we're right here on Lake Monroe,
And you don't have to find a parking space.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes, there's free, and they're free. Free
Yeah,
days,
they
sunrise
are.
to sunset. I believe they're open. But this is those day slips are incorporated into this master plan and what's going to occur
Yes,
with them.
you know, obviously they're in very good condition. They're very new, but I think marketing them as we attract more people to want to come to the marina, those will be utilized more. But you know, the other finding from the boaters, they are concerned about parking, but things like security. You know, a lot of them are liveaboards, and they are concerned about security. So those are things we can address.
Right.
But they also want things like meeting spaces, and those could be things that anybody could rent out the meeting room for a meeting or an event. So those are areas that we are addressing.
Yeah, and not to mention when you walk by on a very windy day, the marina on the Riverwalk, and you hear those sailboat. Now, Eric, what are those called? You know, sailboats, when the clanking of the masts, I guess. Do you know what I'm referring to, Eric?
Yeah, all the lines on the mast.
Yeah, I mean,
and all like the riggings and things like
Yeah.
that.
Music, right?
and that sound with the view of the sailboats is just with the moonlight and just everything. It's just so awe-inspiring, and for me at least. But so that's what makes Sanford so special, is you have a little bit of everything, and our marina is truly a jewel, like you said. So is there any other things that we want to talk about at the end of this podcast? We're coming to a close.
Yeah, I can just mention a few of the features because we start talking about them. We hadn't gotten through them all, so it's not just restrooms, but some of the things. We mentioned the seaplane docks, which we do have interest where the people in DeVaries want to be able to fly and not just land in their own lake. They want to go somewhere and be able to land. So we're planning some docks for seaplanes. One really exciting thing, and I think everybody will be happy about, is we'll have a fishing pier. Okay, so there's already a breakwater wall on the east side of the marina that's just there, for wave attenuation, but it will be expanded where you should be able to walk out on it or be out there fishing. So that'll be a big change to be able to get out, on the water and fish.
So where will that be now? Where we're talking about Marina Isle and Veterans Memorial Park. So east
kind
of
of
that.
where Sanford Avenue comes out on Seminole Boulevard, right out from that, right across from the Civic Center is that wall that we're talking about building, basically a pier on. And then, of course, the docks will be much improved, and the facilities, like the utilities and pump outs and all of that, will be new. But there will be opportunities, like the building that's there now that houses the restrooms. That building will be reconstructed where it'll have a cafe that overlooks the marina, and you can go in there if you're waiting for the river ship, or just go in there to have a drink or a coffee. So more restaurants was a big goal, and Eric talked about the dry dock storage building, which is just that huge concrete looking building out there. That building, the goal would be to replace it with a bigger, more modern facility to accommodate bigger boats. But also you see in a lot of the marinas around the base of it, they'll build, shops and retail and restaurants. So that's a place where we have, tucked in more opportunities. And then the Riverwalk, we have a 10-foot trail that connects to the Riverwalk, goes all the way around, the eastern portion, which is not under lease.
Yeah.
And then there's an event lawn that will be in the northeast corner where the picnic pavilions are. We have that planned for what we call a palm garden event lawn.
Oh, nice.
And so it will be a expanded version of what's there now, a palm garden. And then we're looking at trying to incorporate maybe a little bit of beachfront that will not be the seawall that's there. Some people are concerned about, children being out there because you fall off the seawall.
Yeah.
And it's not too easy to get back
No.
up. But if there was an area, there is a little bit of area left along there that doesn't have a seawall, that maybe that could be more like quote unquote beach where you
Gotcha.
could, walk out and touch the water.
Okay.
So those are some of the key things.
Okay. All right. Well, that's wonderful features, potential features. And so is there any, Eric, do you have any last words that you may want to say? We can talk forever. We're so much going on with this marina.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started. I could go on this for hours. But I just want to really thank Neil Schaefer and the City of Sanford for bringing us on board. When we first came out and I saw that marina, I couldn't believe how amazing of a sight it was. Rarely do you have a peninsula with a guarded basin and a beautiful lake like that. It was really, it just is such a great place for a marina. And so, I think with this master plan and moving forward, I think this is really going to be a jewel for the City of Sanford. I really appreciate being able to work on this with everybody.
All right. Well,
Same
thank you
here.
for your expertise. And Rosemary, do you have any last words? I know you work here, live here, and I know that you probably have a special place in your heart to want to see this happen.
I think just to set the expectation of the time frame,
Yeah.
so there are some docks that need immediate replacement. Immediate, we're defining within a year. So right now our goal is to get this in front of the commission for adoption in the first meeting in October. And then we're going to apply for permitting for these docks to be replaced,
Okay.
Pretty quickly, as fast as can be done,
Yeah.
which is at least a year, to get through permitting, design, and construction. But once we replace the docks most in need, which are on the west side, we'll start looking at the east side. But that's the marina itself. These things that will be planned for the upland part, we call, that's more like park-like features.
Right.
Those can be done over time whenever the city has funds and wants to start them, so
Right.
they don't have to wait. But, for the fully new and modern marina, including the dry storage building, which probably not that many people care about,
Right.
that may take 10 years.
Yeah.
But hopefully the other things will be over 5 years. They'll see a lot of improvements. And if you go out there now, you'll already see them because F3 is making them every day. They have a great team out there.
All right. Well, so see, that gives our listeners some perspective as to when is this timeline and when you could see things in completion. But thank you for that. That's so important. We have the great idea, the plan, and now the timeline. And so,
And it is on your website.
yes, it
too.
is on the City of Sanford website at sanfordfl.gov, right on our homepage, the Downtown Sanford Marina Master Plan. Check out their web page also. What's their website again?
It's downtownsanfordmarina.com.
Yeah, check out their website and also, like I said, the city website for more information. We want to thank Edgewater Resources, Eric Schultz, for your work on this, project engineer, Rosemary Aldridge, the
Project manager,
senior vice president of Neil Schaefer, located right here in Sanford. Thank you so much for being on the City of Sanford podcast, Sanford Says. We love our marina, and we want to see it improve and be there for years to come, for generations to come, to enjoy it. This is Lisa Holder, Chief Communications and Cultural Affairs Administrator for the City of Sanford. You're listening to Sanford Says. Thank you for listening. You can subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts and on the city website. Check us out at sanfordfl.gov and social media as well. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.